Go. Welcome, everyone. We're excited to have you guys with us today. Today, joining us, we have Jacinda Walker. Jacinda Walker is renowned for her work in design, diversity, research, and strategy. She is the founder and creative director of designExplorr, a social impact organization whose mission addresses the diversity gap within the design profession. Her research on design journeys, strategies for increasing diversity in design disciplines, has been held as breakthrough work. This solutions-based thesis explores diversity in design disciplines and investigates effective strategies to expose Black and Latino youth to design careers. Ms. Walker's future goals are to help scale diversity in design initiatives within education institutions, corporations, organizations, and museums. Welcome, Jacinda. We are so honored and excited to have you with us today.
So let me unmute myself. Thank you guys for having me. I'm just rolling up my sleeves because this is, only the Lord knows what's about to happen. Okay, I'm going to share screen. And I just want to preface by saying that I cannot see what's in the chat. So I'm hopeful that somebody will be able to help me out and let me know what's going on in the chat box. I feel like I'm missing the whole meeting. All right, I'm going to share, press play. Can you all see my screen? Can you give me a thumbs up or something? Excellent. Thank you so much, Lisa. I really appreciate you. Woo. All right, everybody. Well, as was told, today we're going to be talking a little bit about the lack of diversity in design disciplines. And I'm going to present some of the case studies that we've been doing here at designExplorr. So, I always have to take you back to the beginning, right? My design journey started in a place very similar to this. I am the oldest of 6 children. I'm the first daughter. I'm the oldest girl. And I really love design. I dislike spicy foods. I suffer from big sister-itis. And I am I am most known for my youth advocacy work. But I have to tell you, when I was 16, none of that meant anything to me because I, like many young people, were very lost. I was really still just trying to figure it out. I wasn't very good at school. I was a horrible student. I literally almost failed the 4th, 6th, and the 8th grade. And I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And I just remember 16 being a multitude of emotion and doubt and just this unknown of what we're going to do. And so when I was in this classroom in the 10th grade, my art teacher at the time, she went on maternity leave and she was replaced by a gentleman who was a commercial artist. His name was Mr. Applebaum. So if you guys know any Mr. Applebaums in Ohio, give him a shout out for me. And he took us from this fine arts world over to this place of typography and illustration and advertising and poster making and layout. And I was just instantly intrigued. And he came to me one day and he said, Jacinda, you're really kind of good at this. You should really think about doing this when you get older, when you get out of school. And I was like, ain't nobody gonna hire me to draw. Stop. Stop playing with me. Nobody's gonna hire me to play on the computer all day. And he's like, no, I promise it is a real thing. It's called graphic design. You should think about it. And I said, I just kind of totally dissed him. And I remember him walking away. And as he slunked away, I was like, I wonder if he could be right. I wonder if this thing could be true. Like, what if it was? And so I did what most 16-year-olds do. I cut the next class and I went to the guidance counselor's office. This is before Google, you all, so you have to bear with me. We didn't have that thing. We had those big old 3-ring binders where they drill hole punched and put them all together. And in my school, we were fortunate enough to have 3 that all had design and commercial art in them. I went through each of them and I went home that night. I swear, and I think I told my mom, I'm gonna go to college. And she said to me, well, you can do that, but you're gonna have to take care of it yourself. And so from that point on, I just really understood in life that if I was going to do anything or if anything was going to happen, I was going to have to do it myself. And so after high school, I went to the University of Akron. This is a picture of Folk Hall where I spent most of my time at the university. And actually, this was the first time I heard the phrase non-traditional. I was like, oh, so I was instantly so intrigued. Like, what does that mean? What does it do? Right? Like, how am I non-traditional? Well, considering the fact that I had not fully committed to going to get my bachelor's degree at that particular time, I started out in at community college. And so Folk Hall was where all of the design and art classes were for the entire college. So everybody took classes here. So coming from the 2-year school, I was dubbed as a non-traditional student because everybody else had decided to get a bachelor's degree. And I was still the only one like contemplating, like, what am I going to do with my life? Like, I don't even know if this thing's going to pay out. I even remember telling my mom, Mommy, I'll be back about 18, 24 months. I'll be back. She was looking at me like, whatever, bye-bye. And so yeah, after I left the University of Akron, where I did a double major and a double minor, I know I'm a bit of an overachiever. I really got fortunate, and I started getting a lot of internships. And through those internships, I had better job opportunities, because I already had the months of experience that many employers requested that new graduates had. And that's ultimately how I ended up at the school district, as well as here, the Cleveland Division of Water. This is actually the place where I heard non-traditional the most. You have to understand, here at this point in my career, I was still in my 20s, and I was the youngest person in the office. I was the only Black person. I was the only Black designer. And I was responsible for the design work for 500,000 customers, 7 administrative sites. I answered directly to the CEO. And then when I resigned from the school district and I moved to the water department, I was responsible for all of the customers here in Cuyahoga County, to do the water quality reports, the annual reports, the bills, signage, wayfinding, all of these types of things. And so because I was the only creative person, I quickly was called a non-traditional employee, because I didn't use the regular computer that everybody else used. I didn't have the same kind of office supplies as everybody else. I didn't even purchase the same kind of magazines as everybody else, right? Like, I instantly was, dare I say this, labeled as this non-traditional employee, and I had special needs. That's what the computer tech people told me all the time. Jacinda, you have a Mac, so you're one of our special needs clients. And I was like, God, this is not getting good for me. Like, this is not, like, I'm doing the best I can here. Like, what is really, really going on? And it wasn't until I met these other non-traditional designers that I had my aha moment. Even though all of the work that I was doing at the city and at the school district was getting lots of notoriety, I was very unchallenged. I was very uninspired. And I actually call these the dark days of my career. The dark days are just days where I just went to work. I went home. I went to work, designed flyers, logos, booklets, went home, did it all over again. You know what I'm saying? I hadn't really done anything new. It wasn't until the young lady here in the green came to me one day and said, "Hey, I heard that you're the Black designer at the school district." And I was like, "Well, yeah, yeah, that's me. I'm that Black designer." And she was like, "I would love to see what you're doing. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to go to, I'm trying to decide if I'm going to go to school or if I'm going to get a certificate in design. And I really would just love to see what it looks like." So I'm like, "Okay, sure." I let her come in and watch me. She watched me for an entire day. At the end of the day, she said, "I loved it. Can I come back tomorrow?" Needless to say, 30 odd some years later, we are still connected. We still work together. We still do things together. She's actually an entrepreneur herself. And that's what's so wonderful about these young people that I'm sharing with you. They're all user experience designers. They are designers here at our sewer district, leading the entire design department, right? They are designers working at our Cuyahoga Metropolitan Housing Corporation. These are designers who are working in printing and pre-press nowadays. So the young people that I met along my way, even though I was feeling kind of dark, they gave me much light and much passion, things that I had not considered being a designer could entail. Now, the day this is the adored one of the family, you all. The day she came to me and said, Auntie, I want to be a designer, everything changed. Everything. I never thought about the status of the profession. I never thought about what was happening. I thought the problems that were happening to me and the young people that I was mentoring, I thought those were just problems that I was having in Cleveland. And I thought they were just some things that were happening in this region that I live in. And it wasn't until she said she wanted to be a designer. I mean, I was excited for about 93 seconds. A whole 93 seconds, I was excited. And then I remember she was going to be a designer in this field. She was going to be a designer in a place where when you show up to the interview, sometimes they ask you, you're the 4 o'clock? They were going to ask her things like, oh, wow, you design so well for a Black girl. Or my personal favorite, wow, you speak so well for a Black girl. Did you go to private school? And that's when I realized, you all, I had to fix it. I had to do something. I had to do something immediately. At the time she was in the 10th grade, I had 2 years to figure something out before she went to college. And that's when I decided to do something a little bit different. I knew some people at the Organization of Black Designers who introduced me to some more people at The Ohio State University. 6 months later, I had won a full ride scholarship to look at my research work that investigates the lack of diversity in design disciplines. These are my classmates. I'm sure maybe you can notice something very unique about this group of people. This is 3 years. This is 3 years of graduate students. I still am the 3rd Black woman to receive the MFA at The Ohio State University. We had an amazing time. I learned so much about life, about design, about other disciplines of design. I had never taken classes with other non-traditional designers like myself, right? And so to be able to learn and work and connect with these individuals, it made a huge difference. And that's really why it changed again on me, right? So my research work is titled Design Journeys, Strategies for Increasing Diversity in Design Disciplines. It is a solutions-based thesis. I always have to preface this to say that if you need to read the thesis that talks about the challenges and the hardships of being a Black designer, I have to recommend Cheryl Miller's thesis for that. But if you are ready to do something about this lack of diversity, if you are ready to implement some sort of diversity building initiatives, if you are interested in solving this problem, this 293 pages, I'm here to tell you it's the one to do this thing for you. Now, when we start looking at the lack of diversity in design, we will be remiss if we did not first acknowledge the first time we even hear a person acknowledge that this is not right. Something is going on. And that first occurrence is in 1968 when Whitney Young here was asked to speak at the AIA, American Institute of Architects. He went to a conference in Portland. They document this by saying that when Whitney Young got there and he walked in the room, he was immediately stopped. You know, Whitney Young was a very tall Black man. You know, he was a very big man. And they said he walked in the room, he walked to find where the dais and the podium was. And when he looked out, he saw nothing but white people. And not only did he only see white people, he only saw white men. There was nobody else in the audience that day. And instead of him kind of giving them kudos for what they was doing and making them pleased at the fact that they had a Black man on stage, he said, you are not distinguished by what you have contributed to civil liberties. You are your most distinguished by your thunderous silence in allowing this moral crisis to continue to happen. 1 year later, AIA created what they named the Minority Scholarship, the Minority Design Scholarship. And that's exactly what they named it. Like, can you imagine writing home to mama, mama, I won the Minority Disadvantaged Scholarship. Now the AIA, they tried. I mean, technically speaking, it is the first strategic initiative that we ever hear about, right? It's a scholarship that was designated to be able to help people of color obtain education. It was for schools who were teaching the students of color, because, you know, they went to different schools. And the monies were supposed to be used for individuals who were trying to pass the certification test. So it's when we think about how this first strategic initiative developed, it really plays a huge role when we begin to look at all the others that are out here nowadays, right? So when we think about the lack of diversity in design, what we have to understand is that it affects us in 4 ways. Detrimental attitudes in education. This is where we see things like less certified educators in these schools, little to no programs, extracurricular programs with art or design. We also have to look at discriminatory hiring practices. I still have young people telling me that they went on a job interview and they had to take a test. I still hear my students telling me stuff like that. And I have to remind them that is illegal. It is illegal to test. We also have to talk about cultural insensitivities. And we see this type of representation when we look at this lack of representation, when we look at the Dove ads, the H&Ms, you know, the coolest monkey in the jungle, Gucci with the red turtleneck lips, right? Like we see this when we look at the Inchimami pancake cake box. But what I want to make sure that you understand is that these types of things are still alive and well in our profession, in our world, in the types of things in the media pieces that we consume. And then last but never least, there are minimal diversity building initiatives. And this really is where a lot of my passion for this topic lies, because I just wonder if we had more scholarships or more things, would our representation as creatives of color be different? And I wanted to take a second and just give you some design by the numbers. I don't know if you guys are data nerds like me and you want to kind of like get in there. The Bureau of Labor Statistics this year released and desegregated the numbers in the designer's bucket. Now, I have to tell you, prior to this happening, this designer's bucket was like bad bologna meat. It had beef, chicken, pork, and fish in it. They got the floral designers mixed with the industrial designers. They got the exhibit designers with the fashion designers. They got the graphic designers with the web. Like everybody was in this bucket, because realize that the Bureau of Labor Statistics data is self-identified. So these are people who are themselves on their tax paperwork. When you purchase a home, when you fill out any type of government work, any type of government application, and they ask what kind of work do you do, that's really where this number goes. So as of 2020, we are looking at 1,237,000 designers. Of that, 72,000 are Black. Right? Yeah, I know this. I see a couple of you guys looking really shocked. Yeah, I read these numbers every 6 months because, you know, they update regularly. And this is just hardship. But if you're not sad yet, let me keep going because it gets deeper. So the NASAD report, the Higher Education Arts Data Summary individuals, they report out from 342 schools. This is a paid research project. It cost me $500 to download and get the report. In 2020, they report that of 8,209 educators, that 342 are Black. 342 Black design educators are walking around here. I like to remind some of my white colleagues, when you see a Black educator, when you see an educator of color, you're looking at a unicorn. And I just need you to act accordingly. Like, oh my God, it's beautiful. Look at it. Right? And the other unique thing that we have to look about when we look at this slide is the fact that there are almost more than double students studying right now to be designers than currently practicing. I like to remind people that probably in the next 20 to 25 years, everybody's going to be a young designer. Everybody will be. I don't even know where us folk who are quote unquote got a little extra Lowry's on us, a little extra seasoning. I don't even know what's going to happen to us. Because if we follow with these trends, the only population of color for people who are increasing are the Latina population. And that also alludes to the fact that they are now 20% of our entire workforce. So their numbers are going through the roof, but not in architecture. Nobody's numbers are going through the roof in architecture. And we have to understand that architecture is important to us as designers, as graphic designers, as web designers, is because our architectural brothers and sisters are the only certified professionals running around here. So that means the rest of us, we're just guessing at it. The rest of us, we're industry standards, or my other favorite word, best practices, right? Like that's what the rest of us are running around here doing. So in this research work, I realized that the problem isn't a one-off problem, right? Analyzing all of this and hearing and reading all the stories, it's not a one-off problem. But the problem is we keep treating it like it's one problem. We keep treating it like it's just one thing happening. It's just this only thing. And that's why I believe we have yet to solve it. We have yet to attack these numbers. Realize that the data that I just read to you, though that information didn't even get separated to who was in the bucket or what was in the bucket until 1999. So when we talk about understanding the lack of diversity in design, what I want you to begin to reconsider, reimagine with me, is that it's connected to access, exposure, opportunity, and value. And depending on where you are in the journey is the problem. Let me make sure I say that again. The lack of diversity in design continues to happen because we assume that it is one problem, when in all actuality, there are a multitude of problems. And depending on which aspect you are in of your journey is the problem you're currently facing. So that's the problem that's the most important to you. And unfortunately, as you move through the journey, the problems change, the problems increase, the problems transition, the problems move forward with you. So understanding that really makes me think that we need to be looking at how to obtain the benefit from the exposure piece. How do we do that? And so we have to begin to think about overlapping opportunity with access, or overlapping access with value. This is almost like a three-legged stool, people. You can't have one or two of these. For us to get the real benefit, we have to be able to overlap all four pieces. And that's really where the benefit of exposure comes in at. Now, the research work gives us the design journey map framework, 15 strategic ideas, and 4 design principles. And we're going to talk about those in a little bit as well. Here, what you're looking at are the 15 strategic ideas that are connected to the direct passage that they are. And I'm going to read the passages for you. It's foundations, proficiency, workforce, and influence. And for any of you people who are double dipping on multiple tabs open, if you log over to designexplorr.com, on the research page, there's a 90-second explainer video there that'll kind of dive deeper into the entire project. Now, the third research deliverable is one of the critical pieces of the design journeys framework as well, because it reveals what should a solution look like. What should it look like, right? Like, because we all understand that what gets measured gets managed. So if we're not measuring it, we're not probably not managing it very well. And so when we talk about the lack of diversity in design, these 4 principles are what I have found to be incredibly effective at being able to tell how great or how effective that solution is going to be. So the 4 principles, I'll make sure I'll go back one slide just so we can kind of make sure we go over those. It's comprehensive, collaborative, local, and scholastic. Comprehensive meaning that we work with multiple, that the solution meet multiple passages. Collaborative meaning that organizations like AIGA and IDSA are going to have to work together. People such as parents and designers are going to have to learn how to collaborate together so that we can create better and more effective solutions. Solutions should be local. I regularly have to remind professionals and organizations that if you are a single mom with 3 children, you are not spending your Saturday morning at the museum. You are not. Right? And then hopefully you guys are in different states than Ohio, but here in Ohio, if you fail geometry, you do not graduate. You do not graduate. So you do not get an opportunity to explore what a design journey could look like for you. So making sure that our principles and our strategic ideas have some sort of scholastic component is also a really, really great way to ensure effectiveness. The last piece that I also have with this research work, and I call it the design journey map framework checklist. Everything's named design journeys, y'all. Don't laugh. Everything's named design journeys. So this is the checklist that I kind of use for myself. And so I kind of ask myself, what is the thing I'm trying to do? What barriers is this thing going to meet? And the idea that you're looking at on screen that I regularly analyze are my design learning challenges, right? And so we talk about how do they meet access? How is it providing exposure? What kind of opportunity is it providing? What kind of value is it getting? Who is the strategic idea for? What kind of idea is it addressing, right? And being able to quickly go through these types of questions really helps to determine, oh, okay, this is going to be a winner. Like, this is going to work. This is going to really, really work. And then the last deliverable, of course, is designExplorr. designExplorr, we're a social impact organization, and we work to change the profession of design. I found that there was no one, when I first started doing designExplorr, I found that there was no one doing it full time. I just shared with you the disparity that we're currently experiencing, and everybody that's working on resolving or addressing the lack of representation in our profession, they're doing it part-time. They're doing it on Saturday. They're doing it in the evening. They're doing it as a initiative, right? When we have a problem this great, we need some people working on it full time. And so those are the types of things that we try to address with designExplorr. Our number one design goal is to ensure that today's youth have real world skills, connections, and opportunities so that tomorrow's design profession has all of the best people leading the way. I put this quick 90-second video together for you guys. I'm going to pray it's going to play, but if it doesn't, I'm going to snatch it back. So just be on alert. Here goes. Now, from the video, you can probably tell I do a lot of youth activities. This chart represents our organizational structure. We have two components. We work in education and we work in corporations. And through our work with corporations, doing research reports, design strategy work, writing, public speaking, all of that, every nickel goes into our education components where we provide youth activities, programs, and workshops. We're also releasing a series of swag items, you guys. I'm so proud of these types of things. I can't wait to share them with you. And we're also doing events. You guys know it's summertime, baby. So this means that designExplorr is taking it to the streets. And I'm hopeful to see some of your lovely faces while we are on that way. I also want to let you guys know also that when people work with designExplorr, they work with us in three specific ways. We collaborate with others to produce youth activities. We coordinate opportunities to develop diversity building initiatives, and then we create connections that provide resources for underserved communities. Now, from this work, I've had some amazing opportunities, but it was this opportunity that made me realize that I am a non-traditional educator. So I've gone from a non-traditional student to a non-traditional employee. Now I'm a non-traditional educator. And so for me, I think what's interesting about this journey is the fact that had I not been brave enough to accept it, or had I not been inquisitive to keep moving forward, I may not have had the opportunity to do all of the amazing work that's happening right now. This is actually a picture of me in Detroit with the Cooper Hewitt Museum, where I served as a consultant and with the education team and traveled with them for 3 years. Now, I wanted to take some time and kind of dig deep in this term, non-traditional, right? There are lots of negative connotations to it, right? But when we talk about traditional versus non-traditional, what the books are saying, Webster's, learn.org, and several other individuals, is that they say that traditional education conforms to traditional teaching techniques, practices, and other conventions. They say that non-traditional uses non-traditional teaching methods, such as blended and integrated teaching methods, or other interactivity to break barriers for students. So in these two definitions, what I've analyzed and what I've grown to accept my position or my role as a non-traditional educator is that I have the luxury of being able to go between both of these circles. I have the opportunity to utilize the tools and resources that I have to understand pedagogy and methods and all of those amazing teaching techniques, and to be able to connect them directly with students who may not have had the opportunity to understand some of these bigger terms, and to help them, as I like to share with the children, to break it down. Now, designExplorr, we have 6 impact education modules. These are the 6 that we have. Design Journey Career Workshops. We have Design Learning Challenges. We do this amazing event here in Cleveland called Spark 216. We've got Type and Tech events. We've got a speaker series. And what kind of design organization would we be if we didn't have a design club? So we've got all of these types of things. And so what I'm hopeful to do today is talk with you more about the specific programs that we are utilizing and what's good about them, what's working, what's hard, and all these kind of different things. And I also want to share some of the organizations that we've been working in conjunction with utilizing these programs. So the first one, this is my claim to fame, you guys, the Design Learning Challenges. We've done these types of design events as small as 20 youth, as large as 101 fifth graders in Minneapolis. Myself and 11 other design professionals, we came to the 5th grade students and we did design challenge based on sustainability. We use design challenge events as a way to help educators connect and seal ideas for students with design. And so our middle shot here is a young person from Kip County Schools in New Orleans, as well as a group of young people from the Creative Control Fest here in Columbus, Ohio. We also are responsible for the Digital Design Workshop Series at Cleveland Public Library. These series use digital design, and we teach Adobe Spark. We have a console with Adobe Spark so that we're able to enroll as many students as possible. And we're able to give them an actual account that doesn't have like the watermark, or, you know, how like you get a free software package and not all the features are available. Well, after calling Adobe every single day for 3 months, they finally took my call and they said, what did I want? You know, I said I was willing to call somebody else. They was like, no, you don't have to call anybody else. We'll help you. Like, what do you want? So even though they were a little irritated, I got what I wanted. We also have an opportunity to do workshops called Power Posters. Now, Power Posters is a series that we developed out of digital design workshops, and specifically working with young people to help them learn how to communicate meaningful messages. And so we work with young people to analyze historic posters. We look at posters like the Coca-Cola ads. We look at the Barack Obama posters. We look at the Bob Dylan records and all of these amazing design pieces, publications primarily. And we talk about how and why they're effective, and then How did they communicate a message? And how might we learn these types of techniques and communicate our own meaningful messages? And if anybody's interested in that lesson, it's actually on the Smithsonian's Learning Lab. I believe it's learning.si.gov or edu. I always get that website mixed up. But if someone finds it while I'm on the call, please keep me posted. If you look it up, it's under, like I said, the Learning Lab, and it's under designExplorr. Now, I also shared earlier, we have this amazing event here called Spark 216. Here's a picture of it at Spark 216. Like I said, it's myself and 3 other Black designers, Jamal Collins, Jamel Wilkerson, and Robert Gatewood. We host this event as a way to have a career fair on steroids for young people who come to our event. So at the event, you come, we have different design tables set up. And so every 45 minutes, we ring a bell and students change tables so that they can try all the different types of design disciplines. We have design leaders sitting at the tables, and the design leaders work with the students to be able to help them grasp a quick concept while they're at their table. This is an image of me teaching a group of students about empathy mapping. And then, like I shared before, we do Design Club. Design Club is a multi-sessioned program which allows students to explore the power of design through creative activities. So this means that when we go places and when we're in locations, when organizations book us for 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, or 10 events, we put that under the umbrella of Design Club because it gives us an opportunity to explore multiple tasks, multiple disciplines with the young people. And so this is a picture of me and Larissa. She's created something to help pets remain safe. We're also looking at my friend here in the middle who is exploring the tortoise and the hare and creating a pair of safety goggles for the hare. And then last but never least, this is myself working with a group of students, and they are exploring again and analyzing the design challenge of the day. And I would be remiss if we didn't spend some time talking about our signature program, Think Like a Designer. Think Like a Designer has a workshop as well as creativity kits that go with this. Think Like a Designer was a program that came about through COVID. As we embarked on COVID, I remember it very, very, very vividly. People naturally canceled a lot of events. But I live in an underserved community. And so there were still students walking around our neighborhoods. There were still students looking to do things. There were still parents who needed to go to work. There were still people who, even though we were in a quote unquote global pandemic, who had real problems. And the pandemic did nothing but multiply those challenges. And so I developed Think Like a Designer as a way to do design activities indoors and outdoors, right? It was the middle of summer and everyone's just kind of cooped in. And so we did these Think Like a Designer programs. We did them at the church. We did them in the basement. We did them in the Y. We did them in the backyard. We did them in the front yard. We did them under the tent. We did them in the lawn chair. We did them outside of Staples. We were everywhere, and we were fortunate enough to be able to pass out that summer 56 Think Like a Designer kits. And here are some of the materials that are in our kit. We have a Be a Design Explorer packet where you can meet Ruby and AJ, who are young people just like yourselves trying to learn about design and how to solve problems. The Think Like a Designer packet has markers, scissors, crayons. It also consists of tons of amazing supplies to build your prototype, Post-it notes, tape, and our newly developed, hot off the presses, our Think Like a Designer notebooks that go in the kit, and our pencils so that young people can sketch out their ideas. They can put it in their pocket or their book bag. There's no rule lines in it. There's no grid bars. There's no rules in the book. You don't have to be perfect. You can just have something to put your ideal on. And that's really what we want what we want to provide young people with that opportunity to do. Our Think Like a Designer process, as well as many of our other youth activities, stem around this reimagined design thinking process. In the work that I was doing, I realized that the young people that I was connecting with, I'm not saying that all young people didn't know it. I'm saying that the young people that I worked with had never heard and was not aware that your creativity is not attached to your hands, it's attached to your brain. It's attached to how you think. It's attached to what's moving up here. And so many of them felt that the process was hard and it was linear. I used to use some materials from IDEO and a few other organizations, but they were so linear and so rigid that my students couldn't grasp it. And so I decided to reimagine what would it look like if it was human-centered? What would it look like if it was inclusive? What would it look like if younger people and older people could grasp and easily understand it? And that's really what this design is. This design works for our English as a second language learners. This design works well with our younger students who are learning words, who may not understand that what identify is. We say see. When we're talking about brainstorming with our younger learners, we talk about think. When we talk about share, we say show, right? When we talk about empathy, we talk about understanding and caring. So being able to use one visual to communicate this design thinking process to multiple audiences is such a great opportunity. I'm looking forward to utilizing it and maybe even sharing it with some of yourselves if you're interested in learning how to do that. We also work utilizing empathy mapping. We find it to be a tremendous, tremendous, tremendous tool to help young people quickly empathize and use that social and emotional learning skill to quickly understand how the other person is thinking, how they're feeling, what are they saying, what does that mean, right? And when we utilize the empathy mapping, what's wonderful is the fact that not only is it a quick post-it note type of exercise, but it works in groups as in works in individual settings as well. So we use a lot of those types of tools in all of our materials. Now, I would be remiss, and I hope I'm not too far over on my time, I would be remiss if I did not share a few case studies of organizations who have been utilizing the designExplorr methods as well as our practice and our design principles. And so that first organization would be none other than AIGA, right? For 3 years, we traveled with AIGA's design conference, National Design Conference, and we did youth activities wherever the conference was, so that everywhere that design was, young people were not left out. Our last year in Minneapolis, we were fortunate enough to do 2 design challenges in one day. We did the group of 101 fifth graders at Whittier Elementary, and then we went literally an hour and a half later after lunch, and we went to Dunwoody College, where we did a group of high school students as well as a group of community college students. Here are some of the materials that came and originated out of those programs. We did design learning challenges in Las Vegas. We did design learning challenges in New Orleans, Minneapolis. We've done design challenges here in Cleveland as well as in Columbus, Ohio. I'm always excited to do these. These are they are our biggest events. They are our most popular. They are our most successful. They are collaborative. They are comprehensive. They are scholastic. They are local. This is an image of a young lady at the Boys and Girls Club who is showing us her safety teddy bear. The safety teddy bear has a the safety teddy bear is generated by a group of introverts who address safety by thinking that you need something to hug or to hold you. And so the safety teddy bear has electronic sensors in his hands. He has a backpack that you can put money or coins in. The safety teddy bear also has sensors so that if you are lost, your parents can easily find you. And the most important thing about the safety teddy bear is if you get scared, you can hug it. Here is a small clip of what a design challenge looks like in the planning process, as well as throughout the implementation phase. This is the imagery from our design challenge when we were in Las Vegas, working with Playbill and Angela Kyle's organization. We select creatives throughout the community. We put a blanket call out. Hey, if you're a designer, if you are a practicing professional, if you are an educator, would you like to come design with a group of students? Typically, we set the groups anywhere from 3 to 5 students. We've had some deans come and participate. We've been fortunate enough to have people like Dory Tunstall come and volunteer and be a design leader. We just did one of these here in Cleveland at West Preparatory Academy, and we had some amazing young people come and work with other younger people to help them and to connect that whole thing called design. Case study number 2 looks at the work that was done by Cooper Hewitt Smithsonian Design Museum. As I shared before, I traveled with the museum for 3 years, where I was responsible for identifying the locations that the museum took their Manhattan programming to. And so what was wonderful about this activity was the fact that I found pockets of design literally all over the United States. It's actually this particular project that really helped spur me to do more in my own community, because I started seeing how amazing the activities and the events that we were doing with the museum in these communities. San Francisco, we've been to Oakland, we've gone to Detroit, we've been to DC, we've been, oh my gosh, so many cities, I can't even think of them all. But every time we went to a city the second time or the third time, like I think we were in San Francisco 3 times, by the second or third time, we were able to see how teachers were picking up the material. We were able to see how students were remembering us, right? Like, weren't you here last year? And that's really what made me start thinking like, oh my gosh, I got to figure out a way to do this type of programming here in Cleveland so that I can have that same type of impact in my own community. Case study number 3. Near and dear to my heart. It's the Museum of Contemporary Art. We call it MoCA Saturdays. Here I teach intergenerational workshops, very similar to the ones we used to do at the museum with the Cooper Hewitt. But with these, we're at MoCA. MoCA selects the topic. So whatever artist's work is in the museum is what the design challenge is about. And this is a great opportunity. If you have not had any comedy in your life, this is it for you. This is adults and children designing together. I once had a young man holler like, excuse me, I need a new volunteer because this one don't know how to make a rectangle. Like, oh God. Now I gotta start qualifying my design volunteers. Like, do you know how to make your 3-dimensional shapes? Because literally the students are so excited, as you can tell, and they are serious about these prototypes. They are serious about these prototypes, as you can tell. This is me in the middle, trying to hold my laughter in, because this prototype has so much glue on it. It is falling apart in our very hands. Case study number 4 are the digital design workshops that we talked a little bit about earlier, but I want to talk with you about why the digital design workshops work. They work because the library has Wi-Fi, they have technology that's already sitting there, and they have a bus stop outside. And so we worked with the library to provide programming immediately after lunch, because the library serves lunch during the summer months for students who do not have an opportunity to eat regularly, or who might be having some food insecurity. And so we have snack packs. The library provides laptops. We use Adobe Spark. And as you can see here, we have our snack packs that have Fritos, Cheetos, Doritos. We got Juicy Juice. We got fruit snacks and apple sauces. And we are designing and snacking and eating and working on our laptops. It's quite, it's a really fun, warm experience. I regularly have teenagers come who are like, "Oh, I'll volunteer. Do you get a snack pack?" I'm like, yes, everybody who comes and participates on a project gets a snack pack. And so it's a really, really fun way to connect with the youth. And then case study number 5 is the Young Entrepreneurs Institute. The Young Entrepreneurs Institute is an organization here in Cleveland. They're affiliated with a private school, U.S. Schools, and they work to provide entrepreneurial programming and thinking to educators and organizations here in the Cleveland, Ohio area. As a program partner, educators have a list of people that they can choose who they want to come to their classrooms to do different types of activities. And I'm always really intrigued by schools and educators that pick me, because 9 times out of 10, they come from predominantly white schools or private schools. And what you're looking at right now is a group of students in Aurora, which is our Solon area, who are the IP students. These are fourth graders. And the educator here wanted me to teach them about design thinking and how to do it. And so this is about a 2-hour activity, and they are designing around fictional characters, looking at what kind of challenges that do they have and how can they create a container to best help their user. And so the young ladies that I'm kind of like standing above, they are prototyping a solution for Dory, because she's in a fish tank container, as well as the young men here who are prototyping a design challenge, who are prototyping a solution for Oscar the Grouch, because he's in a trash can. Now, I wouldn't want you to think that Megan and the team brought me here without some metrics. And so I want to close and share my metrics with you all. I've done more than 200 of these types of talks throughout the United States in the last 5.5 years. I've reached a total of 3,964 students in our 5-year plan, in our 5-year work. And to date, I looked at it this morning and I just can't wait. 2,496 people have downloaded my 293-page rant on the lack of diversity in design disciplines. I'm super excited to have shared all of this with you all today. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I don't know if there are any questions. I hope I haven't gone too far over on my time. Oh no, I did good. I did good. I'm like at 1 hour even. Yes. I'm gonna stop sharing. I have not been able to see what's in the chat. I hope something that I said or shared resonated with you today. I would love to be able to take some questions, maybe have a little bit of dialogue. If there are any K-12 educators here, let me know. If there are any non-traditional educators, raise up, shout out, show yourself, reach out, give yourself a hug because you deserve it. Let's have a conversation, people.
Thank you so much, Jacinda. All right, guys, we'll open up to questions, comments. I just want to say, Jacinda, personally, towards the end of the semester, you know how that feeling gets. This is like the perfect pick me up. I feel like I can go change the world. And oh my gosh, so inspiring. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you guys giving me an opportunity to share. I'm highly intrigued by you traditional educators. So I really think that there's an opportunity for us to break bread and share. So thank you so much, Natalie, for talking with me and inviting me, Megan, and the entire DEC team.
We're so glad that you are here. So thank you so much for your time and sharing your expertise. But I also want to echo Jacinda and say, if there's K through 12 or non-traditional educators or people wanting to work in that space, we'd love to hear from you all too. What we were hoping by, I know Victor Davila is also helping coordinate future virtual events. I'll be actually rolling off this May from the design educators community. Alberto Regal will be stepping in as co-chair, and many of these other lovely, beautiful people will be staying on the board. Give a wave. There's a lot of DEC members here, but so we hope to do more in the K through 12 and other educational spaces as well. And so we know Jacinda is amazing. And so we thought this would be a great way to start that conversation. Like, what can the design educators community do in that space? What are you trying to do in that space? Or do you have questions or ideas? All of that's welcome. So thank you.
I'm not sure if anyone has a question, but someone did instant message me and asked me to share more about the kits and how they were developed. Oh, and finance, that's a whole conversation right there. And how am I coordinating them with youth? Okay, so let's be friends for a second, because I want to talk to you transparent. I want to be transparent. So you know how they say what had happened was I literally 4 months before COVID, I opened the first designExplorr office. I was so proud. I was so like, oh my gosh, things are going well. I had 6 months of events booked, and I was like, we're gonna make it. Like, I felt really encouraged. I bought an office space, like a whole 386 square feet. And in my office, I put this big old piece of plexiglass whiteboard up, and I wrote all these different things I was going to do, all the plans and all this type of stuff. And then March 6th, the governor closed schools here in the state of Ohio. Now, the first 4 days was lots of tears, potato chips, chip dip, lemonade, tea, sweet tea. Absolutely, Megan. Yes, it was. I mean, it was salt and vinegar. Salt and vinegar. It was really bad. But as I began to pick myself up and realize that this was not happening to me, this was happening to everybody, I said, I'm still going to go to work. Right? Like I still got to get up. I can't sit and lay in this house. I just can't. I still went up and went to work. So when I went to work, a good colleague of mine, she's a single parent. She said, my daughter is looking for an activity to do during this COVID. She can't stay here at the house and turn to a marshmallow. She's got to do something. Anybody who needs somebody to do something. She was like, oh, my daughter is nice. She's smart. She's well-spoken. She's just like, please put her daughter out there. I'm like, well, does she know anything about Instagram? I'm like, I'll pay her. So she came to my office 3 days a week during COVID, and she would look at things in my office. And she said to me one day, Miss Jacinda, what are you going to do with your list? What are you going to do with your kit? And I'm like, nothing. Like, we don't have any work. Like, there's no kids. We can't do nothing with the kid. She was like, we should make it and just give it out to the people who want it. I was like, Kennedy, that ain't going to work. She was like, well, what would happen if we put it in a bag instead of a box? Because then you don't have to mail it. I was like, Kenny, you can't send stuff in the bag. And she was like, well, what if we get the bag off of Amazon? My mom gets everything from Amazon. I'm talking like every time I had an excuse why we could not make this kit happen, Kennedy kept kicking me. After Kennedy kept kicking me, my another intern, Elena, kept kicking me. Like, Jacinda, that's not that expensive. We can get those materials. And I was like, I cannot afford this. I told you we ain't got no work. I'm happy to still be paying y'all. Stop tripping. They said, no, we can do it. We can do it. For like 2 weeks, Elena kept whining to me about we could buy those supplies from the kit at the Dollar Tree. She was like, we can go to the Dollar Tree. I'm like, nobody is going to want my Dollar Tree supplies. Nobody's going to want that. And Elena's like, well, you should see what's there. It's not bad. A lot of people is using it. And I'm like, you know what? I just got tired of these two young ladies hemming and hawing about this damn kit. And so one day I gave Elena $40. I gave her $20 for gas, and I gave her a supply list of everything that I wanted to be in the kit. And I sent her to the store. She came back literally the next morning with all of my supplies and $5.56 in change. I was floored. An idea that I kept having barriers about, that I didn't think would sell, that I didn't think I could afford, that I didn't think kids would want it, that I didn't think could be marketable, that I didn't think would be helpful during COVID, has become the best-selling thing ever. Like, ever. Like, I would not have imagined that we would have passed out that many kits. I would not have imagined that I get more requests and more calls about that kit. Right now I have like 5 orders that I'm trying to like print out materials for to repackage them. I did go to Amazon and find a bag, a little mesh pouch, to put them in. And that first week that we released the kits, you guys, I was so emotional. We had so many young people who were like, do I get to keep the scissors? Can you put any more? Can I have a few more pom-poms to put in it? One little girl put her kit together. She put it up under her arm. She said, Mom, I'm ready to go. Her mother was like, what are you bringing that for? Why are you bringing that home? And I'm like, oh, those are her design supplies. Mom was looking at me like, oh, this workshop came with supplies? I thought she used them here. Oh, we believe in inclusion. We're going to include them in her admittance fee, and she can take them home. And so the mom was like, all of it? It's yours. Go ahead. It's part of your enrollment fee. You've already paid for it. And so the young lady was like, yeah, Ma. And it comes with 2 pencils and 2 erasers in case I lose it. One little boy ran back to get his packet. His father thought that the packet was part of the activity and left it. And so as the father was like leaving and telling his son to get into the car, I'm running after his tail like, wait, hold on. You left your packet. And the little boy heard me hollering at his father like, hey, you left your packet. You left your packet. And the little boy jumps out the car, running back over to me to get the packet. Damn near stepped on his father to get the packet. Like, I told you I could keep it, Dad. I'm like, oh, I done started something at the house. And so the packet, it's we're selling the packets for $24.99 plus shipping. I am working diligently, you guys, to find a widget to help add up shipping, but my web game ain't that strong. My web game is not that strong. So y'all just gonna have to bear with me in these FedEx prices. And like I said, we're adding stuff to it all the time. We just recently found the boxes that FedEx will allow us to not have to have such a bigger box that's much more compact, and we can ship 1 to 2 out in one box at a time, depending on what and how many you would like. But we love the packets. They come with a pamphlet that does an empathy map and a designExplorr design challenge in it. So we're super excited about those. And like I said, an idea that I thought I was going to do later, I was going to do when it was perfect, I was going to do when I was better, I was going to do when I was richer, has become the best thing ever. So needless to say, Elena and Kennedy, they have announced they are not leaving. They have announced they've pulled a Jennifer Hudson on me, and I'm not going anywhere. So yes, yes, the young people have spoken. So that's kind of a little long story about my packet.
So Jacinda, Megan had a question. Can people donate money or items to the kits for the kits?
Listen, I would love that. The kit bag is 6 by 9, and the box, oh God, wait a minute, I can't remember if it's a number 13 or a number 11. Y'all know I don't know the size of the box off the top of my head. I apologize. But it's one of those, it's a slim box with the flaps that tuck in, because the guy at the FedEx said, if this thing comes apart, crayon gong's gonna be all over the place. You got to better secure it. So needless to say, I have a secure box and I tape it properly. And like I said, the packet is 6 by 9. So if you're contributing something, I try to tell people to make it 5 by 8. You know what I'm saying? Because there's already some other stuff in the packet. And then the other thing that I'm getting a lot of people who are just so ridiculously generous and kind. They're like, Jacinda, I got this box of pencils. I can't use it. I know you'll give it to some kids who need it. Our AIGA president here, Jordan Wong, he recently bought, Jordan's doing amazing. Like, he's doing murals around the town. He's like, I got this box of old supplies. It was at my parents' house. I know you'll let the kids, do something with young people. I'm here to tell you, every time a young person came into my office, they was like, oh, you got this paint? Oh, you got these extra frames? Oh, where these art pads come from? Didn't even live long in my office. Like, I think I got like 2 tubes of paint left. That's it. So people who are interested in, contributing, I don't not give those things to young people. I still got a box of booklets here I got from the IBM design team that I can't wait to take to a college group of students, the design thinking facilitators guides. So we do take donations. The creative group contributes their salary guides, the ones before they dispose of them, because I found out that they're disposing. I'm like, what does dispose mean to you? Because dispose to me means you're gonna throw knowledge in the trash. Like, you're just gonna throw it out? And they said that they don't have space and they don't, they've used them and it's the end of the year and they make new ones. And so they just dispose of the rest. And so I asked them, can I have them? And so they send them to me and I give them to parents who are trying to understand more about design and design careers. And the parents love them. So I use them for that as well. So we do take those types of donations, and we do make sure that they get into the hands of young people, however we can, whether I got to hold on to them a little bit longer or what. Whenever we go places, students, they love to receive something. They love to receive something. It just makes the whole experience way, 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 way better. I see that there's a question in the chat. I'm trying to read it. You knew I ain't got my glasses on, Megan.
I can read it, or Natalie, would you?
Women.
So when you first started, what was the initial reaction from teachers and parents? Were they welcoming, and could they see the potential of design thinking, or was there pushback about the value of what you were doing? Also, I could have let Victor do that. Sorry.
Victor, you could have shouted out your question. You know me.
I'm awkward. It's just how I roll.
So what was the initial reaction from parents? Okay. I have to share that the initial reaction was surprise from parents, right? Like, because they didn't really understand what design was. So I think I probably spent the first 2 years of designExplorr dealing with parents. And I don't say talking, I say dealing with parents at the events. What do you mean Play-Doh is good to play with? Play-Doh is about sculpture, and it's about 3D modeling. How do you think you get those video games? How do you think you get the car dummies? How do you think we get vehicles and all these different types of products? They start in Play-Doh. I had one parent literally say, oh, she can stay here as long as she wants, because she ain't bringing Play-Doh up in my house. Well, I totally get it. Play-Doh can be messy. I grant you that. However, by not allowing your child to experience this physical development piece, not only are you taking away from their hand-eye coordination, you're eliminating a whole slew of career opportunities. And so I literally had to ask one parent, so how do you want your child to take care of you when you get old? Like, because, if they got a good design job, you can be sitting in a nice private institution. But if not, you got to look at the other options. I even had a group of parents once. I did a talk with the Black Professionals Association here in Cleveland. And I was talking about, again, creative youth, how to recognize that you have one. And I had 2 parents come to me after my talk, like rolling up on me. You would have loved this, Victor. Rolling up on me like, excuse me. I think I have a creative child. I'm like, oh, let's talk, like whispering. Like, I think I got one of those creative kids. I'm like, really? How do you know? Like, he was like, he does those things you're talking about, playing with the boxes, using all the tape up, always trying to make something bigger and better. Oh, driving his cars off of cliffs, because he said stacks the box to make a mountain and drop. Like, I said, yeah, he's probably an industrial designer. And the first thing the parent said was, does that pay anything? Like, so the parents are disconnected. I feel that they're disconnected because we as professionals have not spoken enough regularly and amplified our messages for them to make better decisions. Because again, if you're a single mom, all you want is for your child to be able to take care of themselves. And if everything you know about creativity is from Leroy to Wino on the street corner, no, you're not going to want your child to do that. If your perception of art is the lady who carries the art cart in the school, the jiggly one with the 2 gallons of water on it because she ain't got no classroom, I mean, is that the job you were gonna run your child to go like, oh, I want you to be the lady with the art cart? That ain't how it's going down. And so when I talk with parents, when I meet that opposition, when I hear these kind of comments, and I've heard a lot, the mom who said, oh, is there anything else he can do with this thing? Am I going to have to provide for him if he flunk out of school, if he don't make it? I said, if he doesn't make it, he can become an entrepreneur like the rest of us. It's even more opportunity. Right? The parents who are kind of trying to figure it out, like, oh my God, an iPad costs that much? I regularly have to talk to parents about what other supplies, what other software, what other programs can we get? Like I said, I'm counseling a parent right now. Her daughter told her she wants an iPad. And, at first she was like, okay, I'll get it. And then she was like, it's $800. Like, she was like, my daughter's 8. I cannot buy that kind of thing for, and I'm like, okay, here's some other options, right? You can try a Wacom tablet. It's like $90. You can attach it to the laptop. You can put it on, you can move it around. You can use it on a Mac or a PC. If she drop it, it ain't gonna really break. It's a like, you know, so decoding for parents, helping them to understand what these things can really entail, sharing the materials, like that salary guide, you guys. I once had a guy who came to our Kids Fest event. It's an outdoor event that happens in Summit County in Akron. I crazily thought only like 40 or 50 kids would come to our booth. Victor, 200 kids came by in 5 hours. We were freaking swamped. Parents were lined up waiting for their kid to finish all of our little play design stations. And so the one parent, you know, so for the parents who were over in line, I just felt so bad because I didn't know 200 kids. I thought like, I mean, who comes outside at like 3? I mean, it was hot. I had no idea. And so I felt so bad for the parents because we had Legos, Play-Doh. I bought like $60 worth of Play-Doh. $60. I had Play-Doh for 4 hours, fresh Play-Doh. Like it was ridiculous. And we built like little infinity parks. I'm telling you, kids stayed. Not only did they stayed, so the parents were literally lined up on the wall. So for all the parents who were lined up on the wall, I gave each of them, to kind of go and apologize, I gave them a salary guide, and we started talking about create careers. And so a mom who was in line, she was like, oh, you know what? She was like, I was trying to help my child to become better at photography because I like photography. She's like, I didn't even realize all these other options were out here. So when I hear, you know, what is that opposition? It's because they don't know the stories, because the parents don't understand. And so I think we have, as professionals, we haven't done a super, super great job. I feel like there's much work to do there. And then as far as the teaching the design thinking pieces, the opposition that I met was with K-12 educators, because a lot of K-12 educators have not had the opportunity to be trained. Now, I'm horribly privileged in this area because I've been with Cooper Hewitt. I've been with MOCA. I've had the chance to study under IBM. I've had the chance to learn from IDEO. So for me, design thinking is second nature. But for them, it's like, oh my gosh, I got to learn another thing. I got to do another thing. Like, how much is it going to cost? How am I going to implement this in the classroom? Does it only work in art class? Why would I do that? So being able to show how it can be utilized in other ways, in other areas, became a critical component on being able to get back and to get into more schools and different types of schools. So I hope that answers the question a little bit.
It absolutely did. Thank you. Can I ask a follow-up question that has nothing to do with the first question, even though
Okay, Victor, what you got?
I'm curious. You've been doing this for a few years now, right? How many years?
I've been doing designExplorr since I graduated in 2016. Well, 2018. 2018. No, hold on. Let me check my degree. Hold on. Wait a minute. No. You're right. It is 2016. I'm sorry. I'm aging, Victor. I apologize.
So if you started off with like middle school students, do you have any students that have come back to you, whether they're in high school or graduated high school, and came up and said, hey, I'm now a designer, or I'm studying design, and maybe you can recruit those students for like as ambassadors to your cause?
Let me tell you, I was telling, who was on the call first? Natalie, Megan, you two are, did I not say I was slicing and stuff, pulling slides out, mentoring. I literally mentoring. So let me tell you about my mentees. Now I can't speak for the rest of y'all. I can only tell you about my mentees. My mentees is the bee's knees. These young people are so powerful to me. I would have never thought, each of them have come back to me to pay it forward. I recently had a mentee come back and provide me a contract with her company that is going to sustain designExplorr for probably 7 months. I've had mentees come and help me design my website because I didn't know how to do it. I've had young people, as I shared about the kit, I've had young people who are like, hey, Jacinda, you got to figure this out. I'm going to teach you how to use your Instagram account. I've literally had young people help me do design. I had to do a takeover with the World Design Organization, Victor, and I didn't know how the stories work. And so they were literally like, okay, look, You hold it this way. You can't put it on your laptop. You have to do the graphic on the phone. I was like, I like it better on the phone. So literally. So the young people who I have mentored, it's so wonderful, Victor, because now they're coming back and they're mentoring me. And not only are they mentoring me, they're mentoring other designExplorr students. And so that last design challenge we did at West Preparatory Academy, I don't know if you follow me on Instagram. We had Jason Garrett. He was one of my mentees. And I just put it out there on Facebook, like, hey, does anybody want to help? And he was like, Jacinda, I would love to do it. And not only did Jason come and kill it, he brought his own laptop. He let them work on his laptop. They loved it. And to top it all off, Victor, he took what I like to call the rambunctious children. You know those kids, right? Y'all know those. Y'all educators. Y'all know those children. The one that you just be like, is he asking another question? That child, Jason took all 4 of them. Jason's like, hey, I've got sons. I already know how to deal with this. And they loved Jason. They absolutely loved him. So I love when I'm able to have opportunity for my mentees to participate in designExplorr. And it's just been such a heartwarming experience. And I think that as I continue to do more, I want to make sure that I create opportunities for more young people. So all of my part-time staff members, they're all freshly out of college. They're all new to the profession. They're young professionals themselves. And so it's a lot of learning and education that happens in our office on a regular basis. So I hope that helps a little bit.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Sure. Well, I know that people are leaving. I know I didn't want to be too over and you run over too long or anything.
Jacinda, you are lovely. And I think almost everyone who's left also said, well, for starters, thank you so much. But also we are so glad this is being recorded so we can catch the end. So thank you for all that you are sharing.
Absolutely. I just really want to make sure that there is space in this educators community for non-traditional educators as well.
And thank you for helping us.
I want.
Yeah, thanks for helping us carve out that space too.
Most definitely. I see all of the great questions here. I see some people logging back in and stuff like that. Oh, you guys are catching my wacky quotes. I appreciate that.
Rebecca had her camera off because she was actually having to help with homework, which we thought seemed appropriate for a K through 12 education session. So
design flashcards. Let them create topics with flashcards. You can get a pack of index cards at the dollar store super cheap and have them draw their subjects on that. I did that once as a school activity. Oh, they didn't even realize they was learning. It was so sad. They didn't even realize it. I want to make sure that I caught all the questions in the chat. I hope I have. I see so many friendly faces. Hi, David. And I see Lee from the AIGA offices are visiting us today. I hope I said something that resonated with you as well. And I can't pronounce the name, but I see a young lady with the most amazing purple hair. Come on, talk to me.
Hi, Jacinda. I have to tell you, I teach at community college, so I feel a little out of place, but I am so happy because we have had a real push on DEI in everything. And I brought diversity projects into the classroom this year, and you were a topic for one of my students.
What?
So, yep.
What school are you at?
I'm at Monroe Community College in Rochester, New York, and I am an AIGA member and have past president. So I have, I sent them to the AIGA site, and I have discovered in the last 3 weeks a whole bunch of stuff that I keep having our librarian add to the LibGuide. So it's like,
I'm so flattered to hear that. I didn't know I've aged enough. I've become a project now. Shut the front door.
I grew up in Worcester, so I know where so just down the road.
Okay, you got a call, say what's up. Come on, come on. Yes, represent. Well, please keep me posted. The other thing I want to make sure that I share, and pronounce your name for me. Pronounce your name.
Marge. It's short for Marge. Marjorie, Marge Crump.
I gotcha. Marge, let your
Okay.
students know I
I
am a
was surprised. Nobody's ever told me, how do you pronounce your name? I'm like, it's usually Mary. Everybody says Mary. Okay, Mary.
Nope. I always like to try to ask because I got one of those names as well that you got to ask a couple of questions first. But Marge, I wanted to share that I do a lot of student talks. A lot. I think I've been in like 4 schools this month already. Like that's why I'm like, I know I've been to 2 schools in Virginia. I've been to a school in Pittsburgh, and I've been to a school. I was in the school in North Carolina, in Greensboro. That's where I was. I was in Greensboro.
We're going to talk.
Because here's the thing. I want you to share with your students that, it's hard to find somebody to talk to. And sometimes you just need some assistance.
Yeah.
And so I have an orange button on my contact page that says schedule a call. So you don't even have to ask to talk to me. You are welcome to schedule an appointment. If you find an empty square, go on and take it. I'm happy to have the
I
conversation.
would be happy to, because I'm going to be talking to you for fall.
Oh, I would love to do it. Keep me posted. Keep
I
me
will.
posted. I'm absolutely interested.
So the next question I have is, when can we get this recording?
So Natalie had her graduation celebration for the end of the year because it's that time of year, but she said as soon as she gets back from it later this weekend, she will get it all together. Jacinda's going to get a check and then we'll put it up. I can put a link to our YouTube page here in just a moment as well.
Yeah.
I'd also want to say, Marge, we're probably all going to be kissing community colleges' asses. It's pretty, maybe I shouldn't say that if we're putting this on YouTube, but
It's
if 2 years community college is free in a couple years, then tables will be turned.
And
Absolutely.
education has to change. It's
Well,
not right.
And Marge, that's why I love the opportunity to be able to share my design journey, because a lot of people think that, they see this MFA, they see this MFA and they don't realize it came from an AAB.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. I started in community college. I didn't think I would make it in a 4-year school. And so that's why I went to community college. And I was just fortunate enough that the University of Akron had a very good relationship with the 4-year college. And so I was easily able to transfer. And the funny thing about it is that when I finished my 2-year degree, how you're kind of like that place, Marge, where your students might be like, I think I'm done.
Yep.
I think I'm done. And I started trying to look for work, Marge. And I was like,
I'm coming
this-
back. Yeah.
is this all of it? How? I'm like, how is everyone getting this other money? They're like, oh, we have 4-year degrees. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
is that how you do it? But I'm going to get back one of those. I called my mama like, okay, I ain't gonna be like, Ma, I know I said I was gonna come home, but I'm not gonna be home just yet.
Yeah.
I got a little bit
I
more to
went to college and haven't gone home either. So yeah, know the feeling.
do.
Yeah.
I love it. So thank you.
You very much. I got to run, but I appreciate this. This is great. And guys, I don't know who's doing this virtual stuff for AIGA, but everything I'm seeing now, it's like, do I have the time? Do I have the time? So keep it up because it's really accessible.
Thank you. And thank you for being a part of today.
Yep. Take care, guys.
Bye, Marge.
Bye,
See you
all.
later. I'm so happy for all of you all who are staying to the last minute. Charles, I don't know if you are here. I want to make sure I at least say hello and acknowledge your presence. I appreciate you staying the long time. Yes, right. I appreciate you staying the long journey. I'm happy to answer any questions. I see there's lots of videos and stuff here happening in the chat box. I want to make sure I addressed all of those. But yes, like I said, I've enjoyed kind of working with you all, and I'm hopeful that as we move forward, we will be more cognizant in inviting, our K-12 educators, our 2-year community college educators, because we won't have a design profession if we don't start to treat it as we're together.
Well, thank you. So, I think David was about to say something. As teaching online, you start to notice when people unmute.
I was just going to thank you again. Thank all of you. Jacinda, it's always great to see you and to hear your story, and it's so great. So thanks.
No worries. Thank you. I appreciate you staying.
Yeah, this was phenomenal. Thank you so much for all that you do for our community, not just today, but all of the time.
Absolutely. I've enjoyed it thoroughly. I look forward to giving back more.